My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Better Call Saul Season 6, and this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch this review, because I will be going in depth. Now, I found watching this season to be very difficult, because it just finished airing a couple weeks ago, and only up to Season 5 is on Netflix. So then I got the AMC Plus app so I could watch the entire 6th season, but then they deleted the entire first half shortly after they came out. So I'm like, what do? I can still watch the second half, I'm on a time limit, but how can I watch the first half? My parents thankfully recorded them, so I got on their Screen Cove TV app and I tried to watch it on my phone and mirror it to my TV, but the app doesn't allow you to mirror it to your TV. So then I had to go over to my parents' place to watch it. So just very frustrating trying to watch this. But this is the final season of Better Call Saul. I heard amazing things about it. And I have to say, this is one of the better seasons. And I think it has some high highs and some low lows. And let's get into it. First with Jimmy and Kim's storyline. This is some of the best stuff in the entire show. At first, I wasn't into the whole pranking Howard storyline, but where it ends up, I found to be very impactful. It kind of reminds me of BoJack Horseman Season 1, where it begins and it's a typical sitcom and all these funny, wacky situations are happening, but then the show in the second half actually pulls that back and makes you realize what the characters are doing. And I think this season of television does that incredibly well as well. I like saying that. I did find their elaborate plan to be very smart, and it did make me laugh. Like the whole stealing Howard's vehicle and then kicking a hooker out of the vehicle in front of Cliff. I laughed. I thought it was very funny. But it's still given weight later on. Like they spend so much time and effort trying to hurt this guy who's done nothing but be a good guy towards them. And he just doesn't deserve it. And he tries to reason with them time and time again. And they just won't stop. And it's a shame too, because Howard knows Jimmy so incredibly well. He knows exactly what he's going to do, but he's still a little bit too far behind. So when he pieces everything together, it's 10 seconds after it's too late. You know, what they did to Howard is really what they did to Chuck. You know, Chuck was saying everything true, and they made Chuck look crazy. Everything Howard was saying was true, and they made him look crazy. And Chuck was definitely a flawed character. I don't feel so bad for him in that regard, but for Howard, I definitely do. He didn't deserve it. And what they did is just so messed up. Like, they create a damaging and fake reputation for him. They humiliated him. And it all leads to a path where he ends up getting killed by Lalo. And you can even see in his last moments, he's actually concerned about Jimmy and Kim. It's really quite a tragic end for this character. And the way he fell kind of reminds me of the way Chuck fell in Season 2. So I don't know if they're going for an angle where Jimmy's prank's gone too far, but it definitely hits in that kind of way. And like, if they just left well enough alone, Howard wouldn't have been there and he wouldn't have gotten killed. And it messes them up. Like, Jimmy witnessed the random gang getting killed in front of him, but to witness someone you actually know get killed in front of you, that'll mess you up and you do feel the weight of it. And the fact that they both still go to his memorial service at HHM and they still lie to his wife, it's messed up. Like, it's truly evil. Like, these are despicable people who deserve everything that's coming to them. And I do like how Jimmy does actually reveal his motivation so clearly, that he was envious of Howard, that Howard got his brother's approval. You know, that's something he always wanted and could never get, and Howard had it. And I wish they leaned into that a bit more, but it's still impactful in that moment. And then we also hear that HHM is downsizing, so they made lots of people lose their jobs, and on top of that, HHM is actually changing its name. So just like that, they created a fake reputation. Well, Howard is a cokehead. They destroyed his legacy. And for what? A few laughs? It's truly sickening, and it's a really tragic end to Howard's character. Because he is the one pure good character in the show. He's made mistakes, but he's always tried to better himself. And you can see that Kim is truly reflective of all this, while Jimmy is trying to forget. And the fact that Kim quits her profession, something that she's worked so hard for, is a great character beat. And their breakup is one of the most emotional moments of the entire show. Like, you do feel the pain for that they're feeling. You know, that these two people who love each other have to break up because they are bad. You know, even earlier, when they're in that life or death situation, Jimmy convinced Lala to let Kim go. He was willing to die so she could live, and Kim was willing to kill so he could live. And it just makes you wonder, should you be with someone who you love but brings out the worst in you? And when you realize that Saul Goodman and his eccentric attitude and his bigger-than-life personality is just the result of a broken man trying to hide his pain, it gives the characters a lot of depth and layers that weren't there previously. You know, the fact that they turned the comedic relief character in Breaking Bad to such a compelling, complex character is incredibly impressive. So all of that I found to be excellent. And then we do get a few flashbacks, and there's one where Jimmy keeps bouncing a ball, and it's revealed that he's waiting to sign the papers to divorce with Kim. And the fact that he just puts it off as long as he does, and the fact that he's trying to just build up those barriers so he doesn't look like a sad man in front of her, I think that's really effective. But I actually think the most emotional, heartbreaking scene in this entire show is when Kim is in his office and she's signing the papers, and he's just pretending not to give a single care in the world. You know, he keeps making jokes, and he just doesn't want to come across like he cares in any way, and he just comes across like the biggest dick on the planet. And this does happen in real life. You know, where you do care for someone, but you get really hurt by that person, so you want to come across like you don't care, and you just come across like a dick instead. I've gone through something like that. It's a very real thing, and I thought they brought it to life so perfectly here. And his one line, "have a good life," you know, when Chuck said to Jimmy, "The truth is, I just didn't care for you all that much," this is Jimmy's equivalent of that to Kim. And it really sucks. And it's really fitting too that as soon as she leaves, Jesse's outside and the one guy goes inside, and we're just about at the timeline where Breaking Bad, the whole plot's about to begin. I think that's really fitting that Kim leaves his life and all this stuff starts happening. I also love the way the phone conversation goes, where it starts off as friendly, Jimmy's just checking in, but then he can't help but gloat that he got away, and Kim says he should turn himself in, so he gets angry as a response. I thought that was really well written, and I do like the fact that we see Kim trying to do right. She works a boring job, she lives a very passionless, unexciting life, but it's what she deserves. And that scene where she breaks down on the bus, yeah, that's a heartbreaking moment. And Jimmy just keeps going on the same path, which is a good time to transition over to the Gene storyline, and I'm just not a fan of this whole section. I get what it's trying to do with the story and the flashbacks to the Breaking Bad timeline of how Jimmy never learned and he keeps digging a bigger and bigger hole for himself, but by this point it's been abundantly clear. It just feels like we're beating a dead horse by now, and the Breaking Bad stuff really did feel fan servicey. You know, the flashback to when Mike tells him not to meet with Walter White is great. It's effective. That does everything it needs to. But actually seeing Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, I don't think added anything. It felt very fan servicey. And everything regarding Pat Healy's character I found to be incredibly boring. I get that they wanted him to get back into the game somehow, but I think a much better solution would have been, instead of some random guy that we've never seen before, recognize him, why not get someone who was essential to the story earlier? Like he's at Cinnabon and the Kettermans are there and they recognize him. And he starts fleeing from the law. Or that one military dude from season 2 and 3. Or the guys from the music store. You know, someone that we spent some time with in the show. So They recognize him, and he realizes that his cover's blown, and then we just transition to the last episode. We don't need all that stuff in between, just showing us the same stuff that we're already perfectly aware of. But the direction they do decide to take just doesn't work for me, and I think the show's pacing comes to a complete halt. Not every show has to amp up just before the finale, but I don't think any show before its finale should slow down to this degree. And then he eventually gets caught, and I prefer it because it looks like when Cale Burnett recognizes him, it looks like he's actually going to hurt her. So I think that scene would be better if he actually did grab onto her and try to physically stop her, and then he stops and he's just like, what have I become? And then she presses the thing and he decides to just stay there. But for him to just run again, I felt it was very counteractive to what they were trying to do with his character by this point. And as much as I love every single ideas they're going for in the finale, the fact that he's able to game the system to get down to 7 years and then in an act of redemption confesses to everything and gets locked up for 84 years, the rest of his life instead, I love that idea. And I love the fact that he ends up in prison paying for his crimes. I think it's a very fitting end to his character. But what doesn't work for me about the finale, and for the record, everyone loves this finale. It's getting called one of the best series finale of all time. But I just don't buy this character change. You know, we've seen him be caught up in the same cycle time and time again, and then suddenly he does the right thing. I just don't buy it. What action set off that change in his character? And there isn't one. He just changes for the sake of it, and that's why it doesn't work for me as well as it should. I also wish the scene where he's on trial had a bit greater impact, and I wish we felt Chuck a bit more in this last episode. I do like how we see all these different moments where he asks people, if you could go back in time, where would you go? And then we get this one flashback of Jimmy and Chuck where Chuck's trying to talk to him and Jimmy's just putting him off. And then Chuck has this book, The Time Machine. So I took it as this was the moment he would go back to if he could, because it wouldn't have set off the rest of the show. You know, it wouldn't have set off the chain of events that is this show. And I like the idea. I just wish we felt him a bit more. I really did not like that shot where we see the exit sign bringing us back to chicanery in season 3. Feels very forced. And I do like the idea of the last scene of Jimmy and Kim smoking together like they did back in season 1. And it's a nice scene, but if I'm being honest, I also found it to be too quiet, too subtle. You know, it would have just been nice to have one last conversation. One of my favorite series finale is BoJack Horseman. Already brought it up this review. But that scene where BoJack and Diane are just on the roof talking about everything, and then there's just that quiet, absolutely perfection. And I just wanted a bit more here. You know, so much of this is build up, and it would have been nice to get a bit more emotional payoff. I'm also not a fan of the music choice in the end, but all in all, I like the ideas it's going for, even though the execution is a bit miss. The cartel storyline was also really good. You know, I don't really care for Notch as a character, but I do think he went out in a very memorable way. You know, the way that he got to tell Hector that he was the one to destroy his life. And then he kills himself, not giving Hector the satisfaction, was a great character beat. And I like the fact that they really amped up the tension with the fact that Lalo is out there. I thought his plan was brilliantly executed, with him realizing the phone is bugged, and then he uses that to his advantage. He goes to Jimmy and Kim's because he knows they're not watching over them anymore, and then Kim goes to kill Gus, so then in response they all go to Jimmy's, and then it leaves Gus alone. Very smart. And I do love the showdown with Gus, and how Gus keeps his composure no matter how scared he is, and then when push comes to shove, he can be a complete badass. I think it's very fitting that Lalo's last thing he did before he died was just smile. And the fact that Gus just kept his composure, he looked down on him as he died, as soon as he's dead, he fell apart a bit. It just shows how he wanted to come across strong in Lalo's last moment. So I really love that. So I do like the fact that that the two plots do come together for those 3 episodes. And those 3 episodes are some of the best of the entire series. But is it worth all that build-up? Like I've always said that the 2 plots feel disconnected. And they do come together here. But I'm sorry, 5 seasons of build-up is just too much, and I like what we got, but when I rewatch the series one day, I'm not going to change my mind of just how disconnected they are and feel. I think it builds up to it very great this season, but as a series, no. But let's also talk about the characters and the performances this season. First was Bob Odenkirk, and I think he gives his best work here. He does everything he needs to absolutely perfectly. You see the pain behind the Saul Goodman persona, and he sells you on the heartbreak during the breakup. He sells you on the tension of when he's captured by Lalo. He just sells you on all of it. But I think Rhea Seehorn is the one who gives the best performance this season. Her best work. That one scene where she's just like to Mike, "You were supposed to be watching us. Where were you?" Brilliantly delivered. And that scene on the bus, like I said, heartbreaking and just fantastic stuff. Giancarlo Esposito, I love that one moment with him and that one guy just discussing Ryan and him realizing that these conversations can't be a part of his life. And you do kind of see him as the lesser of 2 evils, but he's still evil when he needs to be, but still really great performance, really great character. You've also got Patrick Fabian, who I think is great as Howard. He's sympathetic and tragic. You got Jonathan Banks, and it was nice to see him and Kim talk a few times this season. And I do think he's really good here. You've got Tony Dalton, who is once again so freaking fantastic as Lalo. I love this performance. I love this character. He just brings so much life into it. Mike Amando, he does a good job. I do think it's a little rushed in the beginning, but he's fine. Pat Healy, he's not bad, but he's very forgettable. Carol Burnett, she does a good job. And Bryan Cranston, in the short time he's in it, he's able to go back to season 2 Walter White incredibly well, so I thought that was really impressive. Aaron Paul does a good job, but I'm sorry, he looks 40. He can't pull off the 20-year-old look anymore. It borders on self-parody. I will say that I liked some of the music this season, especially in episode 4 where Gus is going to the underground passageway. I think it's very well shot. I love the use of the black and white to separate the timelines. I love some of the editing decisions, like that one scene in Breaking Bad where we see the grave that was dug and then we see Gene lying down. Absolutely brilliant. But I also do got a couple more negatives. I hate the one scene where the security guard's eating the Cinnabon and the guy's robbing all the stuff. And okay, this is tense. What's going to happen? And then he slips and falls and Jimmy's trying to keep him from looking. So he just puts on this terrible act. And I don't buy the security guard wouldn't still look at the cameras. And I didn't buy Jimmy's performance. So it's just like, I could have done without this. Just have the guy succeed within the 3 minutes. And yeah, I didn't buy it at all. Once again, the Breaking Bad characters felt very fan-servicey, and yeah, that's really about it. I do like this season. I think it's really good. What I love most about this season is that it starts off with Jimmy and Kim doing this funny prank. And just like that, things get infinitely more serious, and their actions are now permanent. They're forever tarnished the reputation of a good man, and they can never do anything about it. It's a wake-up call and you feel the harsh reality of it. I love the way it explores these characters and their relationships. It's the most emotional season. It's got some great tense moments with Lalo. And I do like the idea of the ending. I wish the execution was a bit better. I wish the Gene stuff wasn't as boring as it was. But overall, this is still a very good season of television and a good ending to this show. So I'm going to go ahead and give Better Call Saul Season 6 a 7 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Better Call Saul Season 6? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.